We are live. Good morning from Maui, Hawaii, where it is 11 in the morning on Friday and probably a lot later wherever you are. This is Dog Lovers Live, where we help curate and discover different podcasts and YouTube shows that may be of interest if you are a dog lover. And we have a legit dyed-to-the-wool dog lover with us today, Krista Karpowich from Wag Out Loud. Hello, Krista. Thanks for being with us.
James, it is fabulous to be here with you. Thank you so much. I'm excited. Let's chat dogs.
Let's chat dogs. And you've been chatting dogs for a little while now. When did you first start your podcast?
The show turned 2 years old this past May.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And episode number 120 just went out this week. So
wow, very busy. And you plan months and months and months ahead. So I'm really impressed with that.
I do. It's funny. It built momentum. Of course, when I started, I was, talking to anybody I could think of in the industry. Please be on my show. And now, I think I mentioned to you in our last conversation, I'm booked out through next May. So May of 2022, which is crazy.
And how often does your show drop, as we say
weekly.
In the industry?
Yep, once a week. That's all I can handle for now.
Yeah, it's a lot of work because this is the only thing you do. We'll get into that. But what was the genesis? What made you decide to launch the show?
Oh, that's so funny. I think it started with my previous dog, Higgins. So we're talking probably 16 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was having seizures. And
what kind of dog was Higgins?
He was a Norwich Terrier, just like my dog right now. Winston is a Norwich as well. And 3 different vets could not diagnose why he was getting seizures. And at the same time, we were getting another dog, an adult dog, and the breeder would not sell her to us unless we promised to feed raw. Well, I'd never fed raw before, but it would be easier to feed them both the same thing, of course. So Higgins got raw. And
what did you think when the breeder said, "You can eat, I'll sell you a dog, but you have to feed it raw"? What was your first thought?
I thought, I'm open to that. I would love to learn more. And I'm sure at that time, because it was so long ago, they explained to me why. Obviously, she was already fed raw by them. I didn't want to disrupt her diet. And Higgins never, ever got another seizure after switching to raw.
Wow.
So
and how old Higgins was? How old at the time?
He must have been, I'd say probably 10.
Wow. And so when you told the Higgins vet, that like, hey, this dog that's had seizures throughout his life just stopped, what did the veterinarian say?
That's great. Whatever it takes. Even though, that was a conventional vet, and most conventional vets are not on board with all the anecdotal stories that raw is better for dogs. So that was so long ago, and I've been through other vets, and I love my vet now. So I think that was the start of, hey, there's something to this nutrition,
So you said, okay, I'm going to do this with my dog in order to get this other dog. And then your mind got curious to learn more about it, and you started pursuing it.
Well, this
study, right?
Yeah, I just researched it on my own. What is this raw thing, and what are the different brands out there, and should I make it myself? And fast forward now to my current dog, Winston, who has been fed raw his whole life. We were out for a walk in 2018, and I don't know about you, but I do my best thinking when I'm walking the dog.
Absolutely.
Ideas just come to me. And I wanted to get certified in canine nutrition. So I did that. It took me a year because I had a JOB at the time. I got certified, and James, I don't know, because I am the least technical person on the face of the planet. I just thought, oh, instead of doing one-to-one consulting, I'm just going to do a podcast.
So tell me about the certification. Where did you get
Yeah.
certified?
The certification was through the Companion Animal Science Institute, so CASI, and they're located in Canada.
And did you have to go there, or was this just something that you could do remotely?
This was online, but very in depth. I did not realize the science, the chemistry, the physiology, everything, all of my schooling came back. Oh, wow, this is serious stuff. And
so let's let's drop some science. What are some of the things that struck you when you were learning it at the academy in your certification?
I didn't know about all of the amino acids that dogs need and what vitamins and minerals do they get from their food, like vitamin D. We get vitamin D from the sun, and a lot of us don't get enough vitamin D. Therefore, we need to supplement. Our dogs can't do that. Their bodies don't take D from the sun, and they rely on vitamin D from their food. But with factory farming, the livestock usually never sees sunlight ever. They're, confined in small spaces in the dark. So dogs are not getting the proper amount of vitamin D in your standard dry processed kibble.
So how do you augment that with what you feed your dogs?
Well, Winston eats better than me. He eats raw, and
I'm sure he would share raw food with you if you wanted.
I don't think he would. I don't think so. The best in my mind, it doesn't have to be raw. I think if you have the funds and you are interested in feeding raw, I think that is the best. It's a live food. You're getting the live enzymes. And he gets pasture raised, pasture finished, organic, because there's so many other things, not just the poor quality of meat that is in the kibble that is sold in the store, but there's so many other things. Glyphosate is something that I never knew existed.
Which is a chemical better known as
Roundup, sprayed on all of our crops since the 70s. And, it's fascinating, James. The experts that I have on the show, I'm learning every single day, but I'm not only learning about our dogs. A lot of the same science and medicine is true for us as well.
It is. And we live downwind here in Maui of a place that is formerly Monsanto and now Bayer. And that's where they used to do some interesting things, but
yes,
they don't do that anymore now. So your interest started with getting deep into this like raw food and learning dog nutrition. And that was the idea behind, like, I don't want to necessarily consult clients, but I want to be able to share my wisdom through your podcast. And talk to me a little bit about how that has evolved over the years. As you say, you're 2 years in.
It's so exciting, James, because when I started this, I felt everybody else's pain. And the first thing that I want to share is I don't shame anybody, because I was that person. I didn't know what I didn't know. I fed the processed dog food. I fed my dog out of a bowl, which right now I know is not good for them. That's convenient for us.
What do you?
That's a whole show.
Well, share. Instead of a bowl, you use
I use the Mine Pet Platter, and it is an amazing product. Our dogs share 99% of the same DNA as the gray wolf. That is the ancestor of our dog. They don't eat out of bowls. So
Wolves don't eat it out of bowls?
no, believe
Well,
it or not.
it depends where you find your wolves, but yes, that's fairly true.
Wolves out in nature,
I see. Yes.
I would probably bet don't eat from a bowl.
That's true.
And the research behind all of this is fascinating. And
so what's special about this mind platter?
Well, it's made in the USA, and it's made out of it's shape of a bone. I wish I had one here. It's out in the kitchen. But it's got little divots that represent the end of a bone, and then it has a outside reservoir. So for any juices, or you can feed anything. You can feed home cooked, raw, dry, canned, whatever you feed your dog. Winston finished his meal in 27 seconds in a bowl because he's just shoving it up the side wall of the bowl and inhaling it. The same exact meal was served on the platter. This is when I was testing it out. And it took 4 minutes and 20 seconds for him to eat the same meal.
It's part of the slow food movement is what we would call it in the human world.
It is.
Slow down. Don't wolf it down. Pun intended. So slowing it down with, so that's a good thing in terms of what you're sharing with your audience. What are some other things? Again, you started with nutrition, and I guess, the china that they use is part of that. What are some other things that you talk about and share with your audience that stand out?
Oh, wow. We focus on canine health and wellness. So in that potpourri, I would say over vaccinating is a huge issue causing many diseases.
Talk about that.
Oh,
what's your take on over vaccination?
My take. Well,
and I will remind everyone, obviously, this is not a veterinarian.
That is correct. This is for educational purposes only. I believe in getting our puppies their puppy shots. Not in combo, but each core vaccine by itself, get your puppy shots. But over 90% of adult dogs that have had their puppy shots are fully immunized against each core vaccine, what that represents, whether it's rabies or parvo. So why are we over vaccinating? Even the pharmaceutical companies that are making these vaccines are saying you don't have to give these every year. Yet veterinarians are asking, are you ready for your next shot? So if people don't know, there is an option, and you can get a titer test, and that is a blood test that will prove the antibodies are present.
And if they have a certain number of titers, then you don't need to do that.
Correct.
And how expensive is a titer test, say in Colorado where you live?
It's a little more expensive than just getting a regular vaccine. To be honest with you, I can't remember the last time I got a titers. It's probably been 5 or 6 years because I don't board Winston. So that is not an issue. The good thing is a lot of daycares, groomers, and boarding facilities, at least here in Colorado, are taking titers instead of, a vaccine certificate, which is great. So from what I understand, about 15% of most clinics, their income is from vaccines. And then you compare that to another 65% is spent addressing the vaccine-induced illnesses that result from that. So, that's something that I had to learn.
So it's kind of a learning journey. That's what's interesting about your podcast is as you learn, you share with your audience and you bring in experts in various aspects of dog care to share their wisdom and to educate everyone.
Yep, that's true.
How do you find your guests?
Well, I would say now, being that I'm so far ahead with my bookings, when I say thank you to having somebody on the show, and I can't wait to have you, I'm so excited to have you. I say, if there's anybody else that you think would be a great guest expert that has valuable information to share, would you please introduce me?
Mhm.
And that has happened. A lot of people that have written books, their PR person has reached out to me,
Right.
but I make it mandatory that I have to meet you first. Let's do a Zoom meet and greet.
Yeah.
And if it's a fit for the show, let's do it.
And that's kind of an old salesman's approach. And you're not an old salesman, but you actually had some sales background before you got into this, right?
Yes, I did. Yes.
And you are parlaying that into other ventures that connect with what you're doing at your show.
I am. I've got the show, and then, as you know, with podcasts, you want to have sponsors. That would be fantastic.
We do like sponsors. We
Yes.
love sponsors.
So I thought,
Yeah.
let's get sponsors, and why don't I become an affiliate with the products that I already know, like, and trust?
Yeah.
That seemed to fit. And then I thought outside the box, and let's take it a little further. I know these amazing manufacturers of phenomenal products, and all of them, I would say, are small manufacturers. You just can't find them on Chewy or Amazon, but their products are patented and, actually make a difference in the life of a dog. Why not introduce them to retailers? Because retailers could sell those products in their stores, so everybody wins. The dog parent, the retailer, the manufacturer, and myself. So I've created this thing.
And you're just sort of launching it now to reach out to retailers and introduce them to these products.
Yeah.
And these are more what we would call mom and pop pet stores. And so I guess my question is, what is your view of the contributions that those smaller stores make in the light of these, giant big box pet stores and giant online marketplaces where you can pretty much buy anything?
Right. The boutique retailers definitely have a space. And I think people in the neighborhood like supporting small business. They like the customer service aspect. And a lot of these boutiques sell the higher end food and the higher end treats. That's where you'll see the massive freezers of the raw, or they have freeze dried, or they take a more natural, more holistic approach. And some stores, I'm just amazed at the length they'll go. They ask all of the manufacturers that they represent, where do you source? What are your ingredients? Are your products and packaging sustainable? People are coming around. I think more and more pet parents are getting wiser as to what products they bring into their dogs' lives. So I'm calling myself a dog brand liaison. And I think the credibility of the podcast itself, and then just saying, I've got these amazing products I'd love to share with you. Let me do a little show and tell. And if you're interested, great. I will help you get your first order. I will help you get a sample before you even order. You get discounts through ordering through me. So I'm kind of like a brand ambassador, distributor, sales rep, all in one.
And have you started this business yet, or you're just getting it off the ground?
I have not. I'm putting my manufacturers together.
Yeah.
And I want one-stop shopping. So I have all my samples. I show the retailer. I tell them the bullet points. This is why I love this product. And then, would you like to try one? Yes. Okay, James, I'll send one out to you. Which products are you interested in? 2 weeks later, I follow up. So I'm putting all of that in place, and I'm starting with 5 products. I think as a proof of concept that is comfortable. So that's what I'm doing right now, is putting those agreements together and making sure I've got all my ducks in a row before I pull the trigger.
And where do you see this heading?
Well,
What's your vision?
Yeah. I hope that others will jump on board and want to do the same thing, because just hearing from the retailers, it's a different landscape now. They're not so excited about the distributors because they just throw a catalog on your desk and say, okay, tell me what you want. Whereas I'm actually breaking it down, showing you the product, highlighting why I love it, sending you a sample. I think that, that's relationship building. And I just think that the retailers are going to really appreciate that. And because I'm not a rep, if you like anything, great. If you don't, that's fine too.
So you've also expanded beyond just the podcast medium. You have entered the crazy and interesting world of Clubhouse.
Yes.
Tell me about that as someone who has only played with it a bit.
James, as you know, podcasting is communicating one way. It's just myself and my guest chatting and sharing information. Clubhouse is a platform where I can bring back past guests on the topics that people loved. And let's open it up for everybody to ask questions and comment. And that's why I really love Clubhouse, because we can get everybody talking. And it's been really great engagement.
And you do this on a regular basis?
I do. Right now, you can become obsessed with Clubhouse.
It is an endless, bottomless.
Oh my gosh. I don't even want to look outside of my dog only focus.
That's probably good for your sanity, because there's a lot of ways to get distracted on some things that are.
There's a lot of stuff. Yeah. But it's great. I just love it. So right now, with everything else I'm doing, I have 2 a month, 2 guests come back and we open it up, and I'm meeting amazing people, other dog lovers, and people in the industry as well.
So has podcasting turned out to be what you thought it would be when you started 2 years ago?
No.
How so?
It's taken me a lot longer to gain traction. And because you're just sharing information into the ether, and if you don't hear back, it's like crickets. Is anybody listening? I can see the numbers that people are listening. But you like it? Do you have any suggestions on topics or people? And I think my audience loves to listen right from my website. They download right from there, as opposed to listen on a podcast player, which I would love for them to do because they can listen while they're walking their dog. They're short and sweet, 25 to 30-minute episodes. So I'm just learning, and the tech changes. It seems like every day. I'm learning about how to change up my podcast, how to get more listeners, how to get more coverage on Google when people are searching.
It's
I guess I just would have been.
It's an endless learning journey. So as you share with your audience what you're learning about dog nutrition and dog health, you are also learning about the wonderful world of podcasting and audience growth and internet marketing and SEO and all of that stuff. Well, you are a very, very busy person. Where do you see this heading for you in general? Where, if you had, 5 years from now, where is Wag Out Loud going?
I mean, the show itself is just going to bring more people the information that they need to hear, because I'm trying to take all of that chit chat out there. Everybody has opinions, everybody has ideas, and I'm trying to bring it in so that people can make up their own minds. They can do their own research. So I don't think the show is going to change much. The there, as you know, with dog health, there are unlimited possibilities, and I'm excited for our clubhouse where we get to talk about cancer, which is unfortunately on the rise with our dogs.
We have
I'm
a whole
excited to
show
see.
we have a whole podcast about cancer. I've
You
spent so
do,
much time,
and
cancer's tough.
it is
But there's
tough,
a
and
lot
you're
of
living with
information.
it, James. You're living with it.
I have dogs with cancer. Yeah.
Yeah,
1 in 3 dogs get cancer. 1 in 2 over the age of 10, and certain breeds, 75% die of cancer. It's a big thing,
that's
and
right.
the key is to sort of change how our mindset is with a cancer diagnosis and think of it from a different perspective, and certainly not as a death sentence.
Correct.
And there's some pretty amazing stories. So, Krista, in terms of the future, your show's going to continue doing what you do. Do you foresee expanding beyond your current show or frequency?
Well, I am a one-man show right now.
You do it all yourself.
I do everything. I get the guests, I get the questions, I ask for all of their stuff ahead of time, headshot and intro, and sign the guest waiver. I edit. I find the sponsors. I do the sponsor ads in my own voice. It's a lot of work, as you know. So right now,
luckily we have a team here at Dog Podcast
well,
Network,
yeah,
but I understand how busy
I'm
everyone
jealous.
is.
I'm very jealous. But for now, I'm comfortable with this, and my new venture is Dog Brand Liaison. I want to see where this goes because nobody else that I know of is doing it. So
I want to first of all, I want to apologize if you hear fire engines because we lost our air conditioning. So it's hot here in Hawaii. So the studio is normally airtight and soundproof. Today it's not. And people say, well, are those tweeting? Is that a tweeting bird soundtrack you have in the background? No, it's not. Those are the real birds, but I think they're being eclipsed by some fire engines or something. So I apologize.
that's okay. We can hear you loud and clear.
These are the technical things that we do, especially with the live show.
Yes.
Well, Krista Karpowich, thank you so much for being with us on Dog Lovers Live. I really appreciate it, and I hope you will check out Wag Out Loud, which you can find wherever you get your podcasts, right?
That's right.
And your website is
wagoutloud.com.
That's a great branding thing.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us. This is part of our summer series, Dog Lovers Live, where we introduce you to interesting podcasts and YouTube shows that might be of interest if you are a dog lover and you follow what we do here at Dog Podcast Network. Of course, please check out some of our shows, including The Long Leash and Dog Edition, which is our flagship show, and Dog Cancer Answers. More shows are coming this summer and throughout the year. And thank you for joining us today. I'm James Jacobson in Maui, Hawaii. On behalf of all of us here at Dog Podcast Network, thank you so much for being with us. Aloha.